Hi, this is chapter 15, leadership. Our learning objectives describe the concept of leadership, discuss several traits that are associated with leaders, summarize the two major behavior approaches to leadership, and compare the situational approaches to leadership, as well as identify some of the emerging perspectives of leadership and explain how leadership varies in cross-cultural contexts. Research focused on two key leadership issues. Number one, why some organization members become leaders while others don't, and why some leaders are successful while others are not. What is leadership? There's no consensus on what leadership is. Leadership qualities important in one situation may not be required in another. Variables with which every leader must deal with include the people who are being led, the tasks the people are performing, and the environment in which the people and the task exist. Type of decisions. Process of influencing others to facilitate the attainment of the organization's goals, and a formal leadership position is not needed. Informal leaders can be just as important as a group's success. Virtually all leaders of effective groups have these things in common. They provide direction and meaning to followers. They generate trust, and they favor action and risk taking, and they are purveyors of hope. Is leadership important? Leaders can make a difference in end results. The specific behaviors used to do this are ambiguous. Evidence of the effect of leadership on performance is modest, and even at the highest levels, leaders do not have unilateral control over resources and external factors. Bosses are often replaced with teams, but no successful team is without leadership. And we have something called self-managing teams or empowerment teams, or something else known as autonomous work groups. The trait theory of leadership, an attempt to identify specific characteristics associated with leadership success. Characteristics can be physical, mental, or personality. These are different trait approaches. The reasons for trait theory are contradictory. The list of important traits is endless. Trait test scores aren't consistently predictive of leader effectiveness, and leadership traits don't operate singly but in combination. Patterns of effective behavior depend largely on the situation. Here we have a chart here, traits associated with leadership. We have intelligence, and this is judgment, decisiveness, knowledge, fluency of speech, and then different personality aspects, which include adaptability, alertness, creativity, personal integrity, self-confidence, emotional balance and control, and independence or nonconformity. And abilities. Do they have the ability to enlist cooperation, to inspire action, to make decisions, to communicate effectively, to be social, to use tact and diplomacy, and most importantly, to influence others? Behavioral approaches. We have job-centered leaders, and they're focused on completing a task. They use close supervision to ensure subordinates perform tasks using specified procedures. Employee-centered leaders, they focus on the people doing the work, and they delegate decision-making, and they satisfy employee needs and create a supported work environment. Initiating structure and consideration. When you initiate structure, the leader organizes and defines relationships within the group. Also establishes well-defined patterns and channels of communication. Also spells out specific ways of getting the job done. In consideration, behavior indicating friendship, trust, respect, warmth, and rapport between leaders and followers. The linkage between consideration and initiating structure is complex. Those scoring high on initiating structure had more employee grievances, but received higher proficiency ratings. Those with a high consideration score received lower proficiency ratings, but had fewer subordinate absences. Trait and behavioral approaches. Trait and behavioral approach shortcomings. Behaviors and characteristics helpful or essential in some situations are unimportant in others. These approaches fail to consider the interaction among people, tasks, and environments. In situational approaches, situational theory suggests that leadership effectiveness is a function of the specific situation. Each model has its advocates. Each tries to identify the leader behaviors most appropriate for a series of situations. Each tries to identify the leader situation patterns or interactions for effective leadership. Contingency leadership model, this is advocated by Fiedler. Group performance depends on the interaction between leadership style and situational favorableness. Leadership style measured by the least preferred coworker scale, or LPC. Situational favorableness includes leader-member relations, task structure, as well as position power. And this exhibit here is a summary of Fiedler's variables and styles. Leadership actions to change situations. To modify leader-member relations, request particular people for work in the group, transfer subordinates out of the unit, and volunteer to direct difficult or troublesome subordinates. To modify task structure, introduce new or unusual tasks problems. Break jobs down into smaller subtasks that can be more highly structured, also known as work breakdown structure. Leadership actions to change situations continue. To modify position power, show subordinates who is boss by exercising fully the authority that you have. Bring the hammer down. Make sure that information to the group gets channeled through you, and only you, and let subordinates participate in planning and decision-making. Vroom-Yago leadership model. The assumptions in this model is the model should help managers determine which leadership style to use in various situations, meaning yes, you adjust your leadership style to the position or situation that you are in. No single style is applicable to all situations. Focus should be on the problem to be solved and the situation in which it occurs. The leadership style used in one situation should not constrain the styles used in other situations. Social processes influence the amount of participation by subordinates in problem solving. Continuing, it specifies the criteria by which decision effectiveness is judged. Framework for describing specific leader behaviors or styles, and diagnostic variables that describe key aspects of the leadership situation. Decision effectiveness is based on decision quality and subordinate commitment. This decision style is autocratic, group-related, delegated, and consultative. And I'm not going to read this, you can see this, but it's Exhibit 15.3, and it's in your textbook. The diagnostic procedure for Vroom-Yago: perform a situation diagnosis by asking a series of questions. How important is the technical quality of the decision? How important is subordinate commitment to the decision? Do you have sufficient information to make a good decision? Is the problem well structured? And so on. Path and goal leadership model. Leaders are effective because of their positive impact on followers. It's because of motivation, ability to perform, and satisfaction. Leaders influence followers' perceptions of what the work goals are, self-development goals, and paths to goal attainment. Situational variants include personal characteristics of the subordinates and environmental pressures and demands on the group. Leader behavior is directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. And here's the framework of revised Pathful leadership perspective. Situational leadership theory. Hersey and Blanchard developed an appealing situational leadership theory. It advocates that managers understand their own behavior and emphasizes followers and their level of maturity. Leaders must use a leadership style that matches the follower's maturity level, and that's in job readiness or psychological readiness. And the proposed leadership styles include telling, selling, delegating, and participating. The Hersey-Blanchard situational leadership model is here, and you can see the different aspects of it. Comparing situational approaches. Similarities between the situational leadership models. All of them focus on the dynamics of leadership. All have stimulated research on leadership, and all remain controversial because of measurement problems, limited research testing, or contradictory results. So if we take a look at Fiedler's contingency model, Vroom, Yetton, and Yago, House's path goal model, Hersey-Blanchard situational leadership theory, they all have different leadership qualities, and you can take a look at them on your own. Emerging perspectives of leadership. Charisma, excuse me one second. Charisma enables leaders to motivate followers to achieve outstanding performance. People who take on hero qualities gain charisma. A charismatic leader creates motivation based on an emotional commitment to and identity with his or her vision, philosophy, and style. And here is the differences between a charismatic leader and a non-charismatic leader. So relationship to the status quo, essentially opposed to the status quo and strives to change it. Non-charismatic leader essentially agrees with the status quo and strives to maintain it. Likableness, shared perspective, and idealized vision make him or her a likable and honorable hero worthy of identification and imitation. We think of Lee Iacocca in the first 3 years at Chrysler. A non-charismatic leader, the shared perspective makes him or her likable. So we can go on and on, but you can read this at your own pace. Two types of charismatic leaders. There's the visionary and there's the crisis-based. And through communication ability, links followers' needs and goals to job or organizational long-term goals and possibilities. The crisis-based focus is on the short term and has an impact in situations where existing resources, knowledge, and procedures are inadequate. Transactional leadership. It helps followers identify what must be done to achieve the desired results. It uses path goal concepts and tasks and takes followers' self-concept and esteem needs into consideration. It also relies on contingent rewards and management by exception. Transactional leadership is not often found in organizational settings. The majority of workers do not feel that good pay is contingent on good performance. Leaders must learn to understand what employees want, administer rewards in a timely manner, and emphasize the pay performance link. The transformational leader motivates followers to work for goals instead of short-term self-interest, achievement and self-actualization instead of security, and the employee's reward is internal. To achieve their vision, transformational leaders make major changes in the mission, the way of doing business, human resource management, philosophy, system, and culture of an organization. Bass identified 5 factors that describe transformational leaders. 1 is charisma. 2 is individual attention. 3 is intellectual stimulation. 4, contingency reward. And 5, management by exception. Coaches. Everyday interaction of helping another employee improve his or her understanding of the work in order to improve performance. That's what a coach is. It comes in all varieties. They aren't always linked to seniority, and leader skills, experiences, and abilities. Talent for observing and decision-making, exceptional communication ability, and knows reward performance feedback. Also, coaches are non-judgmental. Here's some coaching hints. Observe the detail. Develop the person's strengths. Work to improve, not change people. Require continuous improvement. Pace is also important, and believe you can be the best. Practice active listening and support learning with action and reflection, and move from easy to hard skills. Set goals and provide tactful feedback, positive and negative. Servant leadership. The servant leader emphasizes employee growth and service to others as worthwhile ends in and of themselves. It places others' needs in front of their own. Multicultural leadership. A leader's personality, efforts, or style may conflict with the context of the environment. Bass found that leadership attributes linked with effective leadership vary across cultures. Employees who rank high on power distance prefer an autocratic leader. Employees low in power distance prefer a participative style of leadership. Factors linked to multicultural leadership effectiveness. These include preferred awareness, actual awareness, submissiveness to rules and authority, reliance on others, favoring of group decision-making, concern for human relations, and cooperative peer relations. So, in review, we've described the concept of leadership. We discussed several traits that are associated with leaders. We summarized the two major behavioral approaches to leadership, and we compared the situational approaches to leadership. We also identified some of the emerging perspectives on leadership, and we also explained how leadership varies in cross-cultural contexts. I thank you for listening.
I don't even remember what it's about.